Dr. Armstrong was coming back toward the sick room with his black bag. Perhaps there might, after all, be one way, just one, of stopping the dark before the cold could reach the point of destruction. One man unwitting to giving help to another. This might be the one small event to turn aside all the supernatural force of the dark. Will waited, suddenly taut with excitement. The doctor moved toward the walker, who still cursed incoherently in John the Smith's grip, and he had slipped a needle deftly in and out of the arm before the old man knew what he was doing. "There," he said soothingly, "that'll help you. Have a sleep." Instinctively, Will moved forward in case there was need of help, and saw as he did that Merriman and Farmer Dawson and old George were drifting closer too. Doctor and patient were closed in by a ring of old ones all round, protecting against interference. The walker caught sight of Will and snarled like a dog, showing broken, yellowing teeth. "Freeze! You'll freeze!" he spat out at him. "The signs will be mine! Whatever you try, whatever—" But he faltered and blinked, his voice dropping as the drug began to spread its drowsiness over him, and even as suspicion began to show in his eyes, the eyelids drooped. Each of the old ones took a step or two forward, tightening the circle. The old man blinked again, showing the whites of his eyes in a horrid flash, and then he was unconscious. And with the mind of the walker closed, the dark's way into the house was closed too. Instantly, there was a difference in the room, a slackening of tension. The cold was less fierce, the unhappiness and alarm all round them like a fog began to lessen. Dr. Armstrong straightened up, a questioning, puzzling expression on his face. The eyes grew wider as he saw the circle of intent faces ringing round him. He began indignantly. "What do—" But the rest of the words were lost to Will, for all at once Merriman was calling them out of the crowd urgently, silently, in the speech of the mind that men could not hear. "The candles of winter, take them before they fall!" The four old ones scattered hastily into the hall, where the strange blue-white cylinders hung ghostily round the three walls, burning with their dead cold flames. Going swiftly to the candles, they grasped them, two in each hand. Will, smaller, leapt hastily out of a chair to seize the last. It was cold and smooth and heavy to the touch, like ice that did not melt. In the moment that he touched it, he was giddy, his head whirled, and he was back in the great hall of that earlier time, with the other four, and beside the hearth the lady was sitting in her high-backed chair again, with the smith's blue-eyed wife sitting at her feet. It was clear what was to be done. Bearing the candles of the dark, they advanced toward the great iron mandala ring of holders in the massive table, and one by one fitted the candles into the 9 sockets that still stood empty in the central crosspiece. Each candle changed subtly as it was put in place. Its flame rose thinner and higher, taking on a golden-white tinge of the cold, threatening blue. Will, with his one candle, came last. He reached through to fit it into the last holder in the very center of the pattern, and as he did so, the flames of all the candles shot upward in a triumphant circle of fire. The old lady said in her frail voice, "There is the power seized from the dark, Will Stanton. By cold magic they called up the candles of winter for destruction, but now that we have seized them for better purposes, the candles become stronger, able to bring you the sign of fire. See." They drew back, watching, and the last central candle that Will had put in place began to grow. When its flame stood high above, the rest took on color, becoming yellow, orange, vermilion, red. As it still grew, it changed and became a strange flower on a strange stem. A curved, many-petaled blossom blazed there, each petal a different shade of the colors of flame. Slowly and gracefully each petal opened and fell, floating away, melting into the air, and in the end, at the tip of the long curved stem of the flame-red plant, a glowing round seed pod was left, waving gently for a moment, and then, in a quick, silent burst, breaking open, its 5 sides unfolding all at once, like stiffer petals. Inside was a golden-red circle of a shape they all knew. The lady said, "Take it, Will." Will took 2 wondering paces toward the table, and the great slender stalk bent over toward him. As he put out his hand, the golden circle fell into it. Instantly a surge of invisible power struck him, an echo of what he had felt at the destruction of the Book of Grammari. And as he staggered and balanced himself again, he saw that the table was empty. In a flash of time, everything that was on it had vanished. The strange flower and the 9 great blazing candles and the sign-shaped iron holder that contained them all gone except the sign of fire. It was in his palm, warm to the touch, one of the most beautiful things he had ever seen. Gold of several different colors had been beaten together with great craftsmanship to make its crossed circle shape, and on all sides it was set with tiny gems, rubies and emeralds and sapphires and diamonds, in strange runic patterns that looked oddly familiar to Will. It glittered and gleamed in his hand like all kinds of fire that ever were. Looking closer, he saw some words written very small around the outer edge. Licht, Mecht, Hecht, Guercan. Merriman said, "The light ordered that I should be made." They had all but one of the signs now. Jubilantly, Will flung up his arm into the air, holding the sign high for the others to see, and from every light in the hall, the circle of worked gold caught brilliance, flickering as if it were made of flame. From somewhere outside the hall there came a great crashing roar, with a long wail of anger through it. The sound rumbled and growled and came crashing out again. And as it beat in his ears, suddenly Will was back again in Miss Graythorne's hall, with all around him the familiar village faces turned wondering to the roof, and the grumbling roar beyond. "Thunder?" someone said, puzzled. Blue light flickered in all the windows, and the thunder slammed so ear-splittingly close that everyone flinched. Again the light came, again the thudding roar. And somewhere a child began to weep, thin and high, but as all the crowded room waited for the next crash, there was nothing. No flash came, no thunder, not so much as a distant murmur. Instead, after a short breathless silence, filled only by the hissing of the ashes in the hearth, there came a soft pattering sound outside, growing gently, gradually louder, into an unmistakable, slurred staccato against windows and doors and roof. The same anonymous voice cried out joyfully, "Rain!" Voices broke out all round in excitement. Grim faces beamed, figures rushed to peer out of the dark windows, beckoning to others in delight. An old man Will never recalled seeing in his life before turned to him with a toothless grin. "Rain'll melt this snow," he piped. "Melting in no time at all." Robin appeared out of the crowd. "Ah, there you are. Am I going loopy, or does this perishing room suddenly feel warm?" "It's warmer," said Will, pulling down his sweater. Beneath it, the sign of fire was now looped on his belt, secure with the rest. "Funny, it was so hideously cold for a while. I suppose they've got the central heating going again." "Let's see the rain!" A pair of boys dashed past him to the main door. But while they still fumbled with the handle, a series of quick, loud knocks came from outside, and there, on the step, when the door opened, his hair flattened to his head by the soft pouring rain, stood Max. He was out of breath. They could see him urgently gulp air to make the words. "Miss Greystone there! My father?" Will felt a hand on his shoulder and saw Merriman beside him, and knew from the concern in his eyes that in some way this was the next attack of the dark. Max caught sight of him and came forward, rain running down his face. He shook himself like a dog. "Get Dad, Will," he said, "and the doctor, if he can be spared. Mum's had an accident. She fell downstairs. She's still unconscious, and we think she's got a broken leg." Mr. Stanton had already heard. He dashed for the doctor's room. Will stared unhappily at Max. He called silently to Merriman. "Did they do that? Did they?" The lady said. "It's possible," said the answering voice in his mind. "They cannot harm you, true, and they cannot destroy men, but they can encourage men's own instincts to do them harm, or bring an unexpected clap of thunder when someone is standing at the top of a flight of stairs." Will heard no more than that. He was out of the door with his father and brothers and Dr. Armstrong, following Max home.